they recently picked up, and they had a problem where they needed to add encryption to one of their um, CSV files, but not even just one, but just like continuously that's in their S3 bucket, AWS S3 bucket. So basically, S3 is just like a way to just store files on the cloud, and it's free up to like 5 GB. Um, and GPG encryption is just a way to add a password to your files, except it's a more secure way. So it has a public key and a private key, and it also tells you like the number of times someone tried to break in to your file, things like that. Yeah, that are just more information, more security. So I just want to demo like how I solved this problem. Just because I think it's kind of cool too. I learned a little bit about security. I had no idea what GPG was. And then the obvious solution to this was like create an AWS Lambda function. Because at low volume, like it just works. Like there's no cost associated with anything. So yeah, the thing that I did was created a function, and I'm gonna actually just decrypt this your file like test. I have this function that just has the public key that you need to generate with GPG, has a private key you also have to generate. I added a password, and then we read the CSV file, encrypt it, its data, and place it there. Just calling like the standard functions from the documentation of it, which is really cool. So we'll run this, encrypt it, and then you're gonna see that we get an encrypted PGP here. The file contents are, not there anymore. And then we can decrypt it with our public key and private key. Normally it asks for password too, but I just entered the password when I was doing this earlier test that's up here. But then we get it back into its original form as a CSV file. So it was just translating this into AWS Lambda, into an AWS Lambda function to where we can just call or reference the S3 buckets. And then I wanted to just zip all the files here, the node modules and everything, because AWS Lambda doesn't actually have libraries. So you can't run pip install, npm install, whatever, which is part of why this took me like so long to do, is realizing that I don't understand how to use Docker. So I just kind of have to just put all the dependencies in one file and try to upload it. So we're here with we do an exports encrypt. We're just going to tell AWS Lambda to run that function and the handler, and then state our buckets. Whenever a bucket's added, you can add a trigger. You can add triggers in Lambda to start on how or when your function is going to start. Get the knowledge from the bucket, and then start encrypting, and then store it as another S3 bucket. So yeah, that's it. Same process that just encrypts it, and then I'm going to show just this thing. I created just some random Lambda function name, added a trigger, which is really straightforward. Just make an S3, pick the bucket that you want, and yeah, that's that. Then you have to change the handler to be index.encrypt so it knows which function is going to get called. And then if we see my output bucket here, I ran some tests earlier today. We got some PGP encrypted with the public key, and of course it can only be decrypted with the private key plus the password of the account. So yeah, that's just a really, really short thing of how to do encrypt files, how to add more security into your setups, I guess. And not too applicable, but it's kind of an interesting project. So we'll call it there.